I said page 93 earlier. Page 92 through 96, we're going to look at examples of other modulation types. So let's start with page 92. And here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to play this for you, and I want you to be thinking about what the keys are, if you hear any keys. So be listening. You might want to pause, repeat, listen to it a few times to try to get a sense of the keys, and then also take a guess. Is it a modulation by sequence? Is it a modulation by common tone? Or is it a direct or phrase modulation? All right, well, let's see if we can sort this out. So I'm hoping you already gave it your best shot. It seems like if we sing it, da 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 me re do, that sounds like do. So I would say that this probably is in B minor at the beginning. And if we look at the harmony, it looks like we have some B minor harmony here. And then if we look at this chord, we have F sharp, A sharp, E. That looks like 5-4-2 in the key of B minor. So it looks like we have a lot of harmony in B minor. Now let's look at the next thing, because this is definitely not in B minor. We have C natural, we have A natural, so we don't have the leading tone for B minor. Dum ba da da dum ba da 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 mi re do. This sounds like another mi re do right here. Sounds like we're in G. And then we have another one. Dun da 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 dun da da dun da da me re do. This sounds like another D. Another do. So we're in E minor here. So la ti do. So it looks like these first two measures we hear them in B minor. Second two measures we hear in G major. And then the third set of two measures we hear it in E minor. Now you'll notice that this pattern sort of repeats, but it repeats up, starting higher. And then this pattern repeats again, and it goes back down. Whenever we have a pattern that repeats up or down, that to me suggests some kind of sequence. And if we look at this, B is going down a third to G, G is going down a third to E, so this is a sequential modulation, and it descended by thirds. So we started in B minor, went down by third, and repeated it in G, then went down by third, repeated it in E minor, and that was our last stop. And we just stayed there in E minor. Now, if this was hard for you to spot, that's all right. We're going to look at several examples of these, and then it will start making more sense. Let's do another one. So same thing on this. We're going to start in one key, but by the end we should be in a new key. So be looking at starting key, look at ending key, and then see if you can figure out whether you think this is a sequential modulation, common tone, or direct or phrasal modulation. to listen to it a few more times if you need to. Let's go ahead and take a look. This one looks like it starts in C major. Do, mi, mi, so, re, fa, mi. So, re, fa, mi, so, re. So, fi, so. All right. By the time we get to the end, though, we ain't in C major. We got a lot of flats. And it looks like we have a so, do, do right here. E flat major, E flat, going so, do. Yeah, we clearly have an IAC in E flat. You'll notice that this is not, oops, you don't see the flat. This is not a closely related key that it's going to. Starting in C major, moving to E flat, that's a distant key relationship. And probably we wouldn't have a pivot chord for that type of modulation. But anyway, there's one place that it seemed to go from C major to E flat, and it seems like it was right about here. And there was actually a note that connected the two. Notice that C major has the note G, but E flat major also has the note G. So this G is scale degree 5 in C major, and it's also scale degree 3 in the key of E flat. So this is an example of common tone. So we were in C major, and when we got to so, 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 the so, so, so became the mi, mi, mi in the new key of E flat, mi, 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 so, so, do, re, fa, mi. So we have that common tone modulation from C major to E flat. Both of them have the G, and the G was featured in the music. Let's look at another one. So now we're on page 93. So same deal. We need a starting key, we'll need an ending key, and figure out the modulation type. One more time. And again, feel free to pause and listen to this some more if you need to figure out what happened. Otherwise, let's get into it. The beginning definitely sounded like C minor. And I felt like we had a cadence here. So, fa, me, re, do. So, 5, 1, PAC and C minor. When we got here, it no longer sounded like it was in minor. And we definitely have a lot of 5-1 going on in the key of A flat major. And lots of sodos, T, so, do, so, do, so, do, right? Lots and lots of A flat major. Probably the best way to analyze this is the fact that we cadenced in C minor, and then suddenly at the end of this phrase we started a new phrase, and the brand new phrase just suddenly started in the new key. So I think we can make a case that this is a direct modulation. We started in one key, cadenced in that key, and then suddenly new phrase started, boom, we're in a new key. You might also make an argument that this uses a common tone because it has C as a featured note. So I will tell you that sometimes there might be more than one answer or more than one way of looking at it. I do think, though, the fact that we have a clear cadence and that we clearly start a new key after that cadence is without too much of a direct reason, too much of a preparation. Suggests probably direct modulation is the better way to go. Let's keep going. Let's look at page 94. So here we have some Schubert. And we'll do the same thing. Starting key and ending key. And what's the modulation time? One more time. Okay, so I know you just want to hear me sing all day. No, you don't. But starting key. Definitely starts in D flat major. We got lots of bass clefs here, remember, when you're doing your analysis. Ending key. It sounds like we have a so, so, do, 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 ti, re, do, ti, so, so, do. We're definitely in A major over here. So how did we get from D flat major to A flat major? To A major, D flat major to A major. You'll notice 5 flats, 3 sharps, they are not closely related. These are 2 very distant keys, and Schubert, this is something Schubert really liked to do as a Romantic composer, rather than being an 18th century composer. Schubert was a 19th century composer. And he liked to look for distant keys to go to. He liked to start breaking the rules. That's what we're going to see in the 19th century in terms of harmonic exploration. We started in D flat, and we definitely had sort of a cadence in the last line. And so we had a 5-1 here, and then we had it again, 5-1 in the key of D flat major. And then it looks like if we analyze backwards in A major, this is a cadential 6-4 and this is a 5-7. So by the time we get here, we're in A major. Yeah, so how did this happen? Well, it seemed like the D flat turned into the C sharp. So the D flat major, D flat, which by the way, in D flat major, this is scale degree 1, turned into the C sharp, which in A major is scale degree 3. So this is an example of a common tone, but Schubert went one more, and he did a common tone modulation, but using an enharmonic. So he had the D flat, which was the common tone that linked to A major, but then he's respelled it sneakily as C sharp to get to the new one. So this is a common tone modulation. And if we want to be even more specific, the common tone was an enharmonic from D flat to C sharp. Anytime you do something by Schubert or a Romantic composer, and you see them go from a whole lot of sharps to a whole lot of flats in the key, that's usually what they're doing, is they're doing some sort of enharmonic trick, like taking a note and switching it from a flat to a sharp to get you to that key. Let's keep going. Let's look at the Schubert on 95. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you that this one's the meanest, because I think it changes key more than once. Here we go. Der Wegweiser. Remember, we're looking for key areas. It looks like this one starts in G minor and goes to a couple of spots. See if you can find those key areas. This one definitely warrants another listen to help be able to identify it. So please listen to it again if you need to figure out where that key change was in the middle. Started in G minor, and it ended in G minor, but there was a lot in the middle that was not in G minor. It seemed like we found a new do somewhere at the beginning of the second system. So somewhere over here, we've got a new key. And let's listen to it one more time, see if we can spot it. So we have a lot of F minor and a lot of C major. So my thinking is that we're probably in the key of F minor. And we have a lot of 1 and 5 going on in F minor. So again, G minor and F minor are not closely related. How did Schubert get there? Well, we do have a sequence. Notice that if we look at measures 2 and 3, and we just move the whole thing down a spot, we get measures 4 and 5. And when he does that, that sets up a nice 5 in the key of F by doing the sequence. So we have a sequence down. To get us from G minor to F minor. Now, how does Schubert get us back from F minor back to G minor? Well, if we take a look, it seems like by the time we get here, we're definitely in G minor because we get all these cadential 6/4s. Once you get to a cadential 6/4, that usually tells you you're back home, right? Because it's functioning as the dominant. So a lot of G minor cadential 6/4s. But we were just in F. You'll notice that this chord here was the sneaky one. We had C major, and then suddenly it went to C minor. This is the second line. There's our C major, and then suddenly C minor. Right, so going from that C major, which works as a dominant in F, and then suddenly C minor, right? This is a 4 in the key of G. I think that probably the best argument we can make is that this G here, we hear a lot of G. Da, G, G, G is a common tone. So yeah, we've got a lot of that G, and the G is scale degree 2 in F, but then the G becomes scale degree 1, going back to G. So that G is sort of the one that gets us from F back to G. These are all really tricky. I'm going to tell you, when I put one on the exam, it will be obvious, and it will be easy. So if you watch this video and you're getting the concepts, don't panic if you're having trouble with these. I picked hard ones on purpose to guide you through it, but there will be obvious stuff on the test. Let's look at one more and then we'll be done. So here we have a piece that Bach included in his notebook of compositions for his wife Anna Magdalena, and let's focus on actually, we'll look at the whole thing, but what I'd like you to do is I'm going to play it, and I want you to see if you can tell me what the key areas are. So there's actually a few different key areas in this, and so listen for cadences, listen for key areas first. So go through, I'm going to play it, and I'd like you to try to figure out all of the cadences and all the key areas. And if you feel like we get to a cadence, or the end of a phrase, put a little X, and then you can try to figure out, is it a 1 or is it a 5, right? It's either going to be a half cadence or authentic cadence. And I will play this whole thing with repeats. before I give you the answers, please try to go through and mark as many cadences as you can. They'll either be authentic or half cadence, and you also need a key area. We're in G minor at the beginning, and when we get here, we end on D, F sharp A. This is clearly our half cadence in G minor. And then here we have 5-1 in G minor. Clearly this is PAC in G minor. Now, when we get here, we still have the same key signature, but you'll notice that we no longer see F sharp. That should be a signal that we are not in G minor. And I think that if you listen to it, da-da-dum, 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 re. That sounds like a re, and it wants to go to do on B flat. It sounds like we're in the key of B flat major. And then when we get to this chord, this is our half cadence in B flat. So we have our half cadence in B flat. Continuing on, looks like here we have a 5-1 in the key of C minor. So we have, and you'll notice that we have a lot of B naturals and a lot of A flat, B natural and A flat. If we're going to C minor, we would see the A flat as a third flat, and we'd see the B natural as the new leading tone. A lot of times looking at these accidentals will help you out. There was a cadence here that's a little bit trickier to spot, but we do know it starts over from the beginning here, so this has to be a cadence. And we get another 5-1 in G minor. Yeah, so what kind of cadence is this? Looks like we have D, F sharp A. And since we're heading back to G minor, this is probably a 5 in the key of G. So there are our cadences. Notice that Bach uses a phrase every 4 measures. And every 4 measures he has a harmonic roll. Well, now that we know where all the cadences are, we can start looking for how he got from one key to the next. This one was in G minor, but it looks like it goes to B flat. What kind of modulation did it use? I'm going to play the last 2 measures of G minor and then go to B flat. You probably noticed that there really wasn't any prep. It just went straight into B flat. I think the best case we can make here is that this is a direct modulation. You ended in G minor, and then suddenly, boom, B flat major. What about C minor? How does it get to C minor? Here's the B flat major. It seemed like it just went straight to a C minor chord. We had half cadence, dum da da dum, and then suddenly it went C minor. Seems like this was another direct modulation. Now, we are in C minor, and it is going back to G minor. And let me play from this measure to getting to this half cadence in G. a point. Notice that I played an idea and then I played it down, then I played an idea and I played it down, and I just kept going and going and going and didn't stop. My hope was that you would pick up that this is a sequence. That each time that we hear this spot, the melody goes down by step. This is actually a classic descending fifth sequence. C, F, B flat, E flat, A, D, and then when he gets to D, that becomes our dominant. C, down a fifth to F, up a fourth to B flat, down a fifth to E flat, up a fourth to A, down a fifth to D. So down a fifth, up a fourth, and we get our descending fifth sequence. That's supposed to be enough. Da, 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 D, and then we stay on D as our dominant. So here we have a sequential modulation, and that concludes a look at all the other modulation types. And I'll put an easy one on the test. So just make sure you can feel like you can understand the difference between common tone, where you have that one note that sort of takes you from one to the next, direct, where you just end and then you start in a new key, and the sequential modulation, where you'll see an idea and it'll keep moving down or keep moving up, that kind of thing. All right, thanks.